I was a kid, there was a hip hop clothing store on the corner of my block. It was more than a clothing store though. It was a place where people in the hip hop game would come together and kick it and buy fresh gear. It was my first real look on the inside of the game. The owner of the store was April Walker. We know now in hindsight that April is an icon in hip hop fashion. She's the first woman to own a major hip hop clothing brand, Walker Wear. You can't mention hip hop without mentioning Walker Wear, right? The thing about it though is April is also a community person. She lives in Clinton Hill. She's been in Clinton Hill for as long as I've known her. She is more than just fashion. She understands a lot about the human element. And so I felt like it was necessary to talk to her to try to figure out from her some tips on how we can adjust in this pandemic in order to adapt to whatever the new normal is. But also speaking to her as somebody who is an entrepreneur and a grinder, what type of pivots is she doing business-wise in order to stay fresh, in order to stay relevant, in order to stay on top of the game? This is a good one. I don't want you to miss it. April Walker, enjoy.
My name is April Walker, and I am a diehard Brooklyn resident. I represent Brooklyn, the borough of Brooklyn. I am also a creative, a community. I'm an activist in many ways. I believe I'm an advocate for my community. I am also the founder of one of the first urban and streetwear brands called Walker Wear, and the first woman to dominate in that space and trailblaze what became a multi-billion-dollar industry. I am also an author. I'm a creator, like you said, so an author, filmmaker. I work on various projects, but I think from the root and the seed, I'm a creator. So that's what I do, and that's what I love. And I love birthing new ideas. So really taking something from concept to a thought process to ideation to the creation stage. And once it becomes solid, I think that then it's like ADD almost with me. It's hard. I have to either flip within flipping it or move on. You know, I know my strength is in the startup phase. That's the most exciting to me till it becomes very real.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And so before we get started with these questions, how is your father? How's your family? Is everybody safe and in good health?
Thank God. You know, everybody in my immediate family is doing well. So I feel so blessed for that. You know, and it's a very sensitive time because like I'm on social media when I need to be, but I'm also very cognizant of filtering right now because the sense of loss right now is so massive. It's hard, you know, the texts, the DMs, the calls, and not being able to mourn your people or really process it the way we need to is a lot, you know?
Yeah. So we got here real fast. I remember the NBA canceled its season, like it canceled a game and then canceled the season like the same night. And it just seems like from that point, we just went downhill real quickly. So I want to get from you a sense of when this thing was coming together. What were you seeing? What was your first kind of interactions with understanding the seriousness of this pandemic and that, you know, we had to take it seriously?
I think I became concerned when I first started seeing it in the media. I think it got really real for me in the beginning of March. Mm-hmm. For me, I had produced and curated an exhibit called Women in Streetwear at Port Authority Bus Terminal. And for me, it was a really big deal because besides being my first producer series solo, you know, mm-hmm. and an exhibit like Port Authority Bus Terminal, where almost 300,000 people walk through there daily, you know. It was just an opportunity to really lift other women that might not necessarily, unsung heroes, so to speak, in fashion, that really do, and across the board. So I had a press conference that first week in March, and then by that Friday, it was like the news about Corona, like in a big way, like 22 people. I think it was first like 2 or 4 confirmed cases, right? So it was kind of like, oh, okay. But then it went to 22. And when it went to 22, I was like, we have a problem, you know, because I knew that if it was jumping that fast, that we could very well, if we didn't have the right leadership and the right systems in place, that we had an epidemic, you know, that couldn't. And so, and then there are a lot of things that happened that we found out about along the way that accelerated that even more. And so I knew right then we had a problem, and it was concerning. But when it went from like 22 to 1,000 deaths, right, which in like a weeks, you just were like, oh wow, like, so, you know, it got real, and right then I knew like everything is about to change like that. And once they started talking about masks, you know, which I said when it was at 22, this is airborne. I said that. And I remember being here with my father. This is before it really jumped off. And my father and my niece thought they were like, it's not airborne. I'm like.
Right. So you had a whole kind of movement that you were doing right in that first week of March. I remember the event at Port Authority.
Right. We had complex. We had a lot of team going. So in the other way, I didn't want to bring that up because that seems so selfish. But it was like the balloon. Somebody put a pin in the balloon, and it went. Because we had all these things that were like set up for the month, right?
Right.
And then we had complex, and we got a series of articles going, and I had this whole online thing I was going to do, and we were going to do a education day with all the students there, and just we had a lot of cool stuff set up historically that was really dope. But 2 things happened. The arts and cultural manager at Port Authority bus terminal caught coronavirus. So you're being sensitive to that. You're not like, and the second thing is I'm being mindful. It's Port Authority. I wouldn't want students to go there. I don't want to go there if I don't have to at this point, you know. And then we got the lockdown, right? So, and then the other thing is just being sensitive to humans right now. Like, it's not a time to self-promote or even promote anything in business. It's just a time to sit still and absorb and be mindful and sit in that. So I just let go of that, you know. And then unfortunately, while this was going on, because we couldn't really go there, someone came in and vandalized, and really the first time it happened in Port Authority bus terminal, and they robbed. They took a few pieces, vintage pieces. They took a very expensive MCM coat. They took a vintage P&B hat, the sneakers off of the thing. So, you know, the detectives are looking, and it broke my heart, but I've also been just trying to decide, you know, when is the right time. I don't want too much time to go by, because it could be a fool that's bragging about it. You know what I mean? And if on social media, find out. Yeah, that's what I've been waiting. I asked the detective, and he said, yeah, I could. So I just been respectful, but I'm going to probably post about that this week.
So those were your pieces?
So what it was is, it was 8 different women, and we did 4 showcased outfits of those women. So one was Misa Hilton. You know, she's the creative partner at MCM.
Right.
So she showcased a really dope piece. It was PNB Nation with Shara McHale. She showcased PNB Nation. It was Kiki Kitty of Next in Fashion, the designer, the awesome designer that does everything from Fenty to FUBU collection for the women. She showcased her own designs. And it was also Tony from House of Swag.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they came in, they took a few of the outfits.
Damn, I didn't even know that.
I haven't talked about it.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of it's funny that so my car got broken into like a couple weeks ago. They didn't take nothing. I ain't have nothing in it. But I had been kind of talking about that in terms
Yeah,
of, in times of chaos, there's always going
yeah,
to be this undercurrent of lawlessness where there's going to be a section of people that look to utilize this time of chaos,
oh,
right, as an opportunity. And it just sucks that happened. But what I wanted to really ask you, like, even though I'm glad that you shared that information, but my question is more so, I know from a creative standpoint. So there was projects that I was working on prior to this
right,
that had to be put down because of the nature of this, right? But in being holed up, being in lockdown, my creative mind began to find other projects to pick up. This being
right,
one of them. The idea that I could actually reach out to my community through Zoom and have these conversations was an idea born out of quarantine, right?
right,
And so as a creative mind, I want to kind of hear, I'm sure you had to put down stuff. That's
right.
evident. But during this time, what are some of the things that you've picked up or dusted off or
Okay,
renewed?
okay. So for me, right, I'm twofold. I'm a personal brand, and then there's the brand of everything I ideate and create, right?
Right.
So for me, I had the beginning of the year calendar with non-negotiables. One was a book.
Mm-hmm.
One was making a decision about the audio book that I already had,
Mm-hmm.
and one was online curriculum courses, right?
Right.
And then the other was upgrading my whole technology for my website and all of these things. Those things are still on the agenda.
Right.
But what happened was my personal brand did a lot of educating and outside, going into the actual schools and going into the on tour, like doing a lot of speaking engagements, right? Shut down. So my personal brand is now shifting online. I'm having a paradigm shift right now, and the world is, and I think it's like that book, Who Moved My Cheese?
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now you got to dig deep into finding out what your agenda was and what you need to discard,
Mm-hmm.
and B, how you need to pivot or shift and what that shift looks like, right? Dig into your strengths right now and see how that moves forward with the world as you envision it and the changes. Some things is like, let's say for fashion, I might have had all these cool things. I'm not trying to sell anything over $25 right now, except what's on my site.
Right.
Because I know where we're going into this depression. You know what I mean? So why would I? Social, just my mindset works like that. But also, low-hanging fruit right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's still going to be an emotional. People still want to spend something. Half of it is to support you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the other half is to feel like they have something, right? So what can you do there? You think like that. That's a shift, because I had some dope stuff planned.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to think as a business owner to go the long distance, and I also have to think about masks,
Mm-hmm.
about items that matter now as the world changes. Like, what will we be creating? How will we be creating that? How will we be collaborating? So my mind is shifting in that space creatively. Like, how is that going to work? And what are some new things that aren't being thought about that we will need in that space, right? As it relates to my digital courses, even with that, it was one thing I had, like my first two things. But now as we're moving into this new world, my mind is opening up and I'm becoming still to what might be really needed in that prioritization of curriculum courses, So that's how that's shifting. And just in terms of my personal brand, everything that I was doing that I said I wanted to start a YouTube channel, I was like, but pushing it off, like, oh, I have time. I have no more time. You know, but the things that I wanted to do to shift into digital space now are changing in terms of prioritizing with wellness on the agenda first, because the world needs that right now most. So like tomorrow we're doing there's ways that what I'm saying is there's ways that one can use what they have and start with where they are, but translate that in the digital world. And maybe you're not making money at first, but you're building your brand and you're doing something that adds value to the world. And in that, the right people will see it and you'll attract that tribe, and it will be a conversion if you know how to do business, or if you put that energy out there in that right light. I always see that happen. So, you know, that's what we're doing. Like tomorrow is Sunday Sessions, and it's a production that we put together that me and Kaisha talked about to do at Suite 607 on April 19th, versus canceling that. I said, let's do it digitally, you know? So it's like Jill is gonna do from Urban Asanas is gonna do yoga, and we're gonna have meditation with Portia. We're gonna have Mia Ali is gonna do a food coaching, because our emotions right now are tied. We're eating in the house, and some of us are not eating right because it's comfort food. But you know, these decisions we make today are gonna create our destinies tomorrow.
Right.
And it's eating to live right now, right?
That's very true. But not just physical eating, mental.
Right. All of it. So we have meditation, yoga, the way our food coaching. Me and Kaisha are going to do a visualization exercise, because I think you have to take yourself out of this moment right now and see what's ahead. Like, see it the way you want to see it, so you can start creating that and opening up space to create that. So those kind of things. We're gonna have a breathing exercise, you know. But these are the ways I'm reshaping my brand and thinking about it. I definitely am gonna bring out that audio book now, because I think it's timely. For the book speaks to a lot of this, which is, I'm reading it now and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But I think it would be helpful, and we're all sitting in the house, so you know what I mean?
Right. You know what I'm laughing at? I just had a vision of March 7th, the karaoke. You doing Patti LaBelle, kicking your shoes off. Me and Milk did Crack Commandments, and we was doing all these Biggie songs. And it was such a dope night. Like the vibe and the energy. Like, we didn't know that was the last time we would have together for a while. And it's crazy. And then we're blessed in a way. I feel like we're so blessed because I know of other gatherings that took place that weekend or the week after that people have contracted corona and passed away from those gatherings, right? And yet we had a gathering on March 7th. We had a blast.
Time that everybody.
We were able to survive that, you know?
Yeah.
It's just crazy. I want to hear some parts of, because like I agree with you about how important it is, and I've been saying this since we started this quarantine, how important it is to maintain focus on your physical and mental and emotional well-being.
Right.
It's very easy to sit at home, to not eat great, and to just, you're not getting dressed like you were every day. You're not getting haircuts, you know, like you were every week or twice a week. You're in sweatpants, you're in your robe, you're sedentary, right? You're sitting on your couch, you're laying in your bed, your sleep patterns change. You don't have to get up at 6:30 to get to work by 8 anymore. So you're sleeping later, you're waking up later, you're drinking more. There's, you know what I'm saying? There's so much excess that comes from being in your house. You have to be able to focus on your physical, mental, and emotional well-being with enough discipline so that you make it through this thing intact. What are your regimens? What are you doing physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually? What are you doing on a day-to-day, on a week-to-week to keep yourself focused and sharp?
So for me, I know and I'm going to say what I know, and then I'm going to say what I'm doing, which are two different things. In somewhat. At my best, when I treat myself like I'm in a boot camp of life, I perform best mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Starting at, like, let's say 6 a.m. Like it sounds like I'm a weirdo, because I am, but it will be like play by playbook. Like, 6 to 6:30 we're doing this. That's when I'm like unstoppable.
Right.
And I go to sleep like really good. Right now, because of all the emotional, everything that's just happened within a month, I allow myself space. I did put myself on a regimen, my non-negotiables every day. I've been showing up pretty much. I've been 4 days out the week on a workout, right?
Right.
Other days is stretching. I'm trying to get back to my 6 days, right? That's my mark, and I'm gonna get there. Like I'm doing some hard workouts now again. I was on like 5 days, but it was light, just getting back on the bike, right, so to speak. But now I'm stepping it up with intense, like high intensity stuff. So I'm allowing myself to be 4 days. Then I'll add on another day, and then for me, my non-negotiables on those days. So I'm doing heavy workouts, and then I'm doing yoga, and then I'm doing meditation almost daily. The goal is to get back to daily, almost daily. Every day I'm praying right now. That's not, I would be lying to tell you that every day I was praying before. Every day I'm praying, and I'm trying to listen to God, and I'm meditating a lot right now. Those are things I'm doing. And then I offer myself a certain time to be there for my community, to make space for other people, that might need a good word or just check in, time, texts and emails and all that stuff. And then I have my niece, and I'm helping to raise her now. Bedford Academy is not in school, so that's home, right? So I'm making space for her, because that's non-negotiable, right? So that's also she's building her own brand, and this is really tough for her. She just got here from Japan, so this is a big transition. She's away from her mom and her sister. So I'm trying to simultaneously do one thing every week on my calendar that speaks to lifting up the home environment and making space to make that as welcoming, inviting, and nourishing, so to speak, as possible while we're here, so that it feels like a haven for peace. That makes sense, and that we're okay, and then those are the discussions we're having. The space I have for her, that I'm holding for her, is building her brand now. So to take her mindset off of what's happening now, I'm talking about where she's going to be in the future and what we can do now to prepare her and do that and build that now. So she's mentally somewhere else in a positive space, and she's seeing it. So I think that, it's the way we can't control what's happening, but we can control the way we react. We can control the seeds we choose to plant right now. And if we need to get some new seeds, we can get them, right? We just have to be cognizant and mindful and present enough to understand what's happening. And it's just like anything else, like chess. You got to look at the game and see what it is and be like, okay, so things are shifting. What do I still have in my toolbox that works?
What's my move? Right. What's my move? You have to look at the playing board and say, okay, what's my move? And there's always 3 or 4 moves.
Absolutely.
Turn those 3 or 4 moves, make the right move. And that's the game when it's peace. That's the game in chaos. That's always the game. That's always the game.
And I didn't mention that I am doing on a weekly basis is upgrading right now.
What do you mean?
online courses. So I'm taking a pattern making course. I'm taking a SEO course. I'm taking a social selling course. I'm taking a lot of courses online right now that speak to where I want to go and what I need to improve upon.
Right, right. And I just was, it's funny you said that because I was just looking at Harvard's course load. Harvard has a bunch of
Yep,
courses.
I saw that.
Yeah, I'm thinking about adding that to my day to day. Has your
EDX, let me mention that, edx.org.
Yeah.
That's EDX, look them up. That's MIT meets Harvard. They formed the online university.
Okay, edx.org.
And those are free courses too.
Okay, all right. You doing a lot of video conferencing these days?
I am. The last week and a half I have been. And I'm gonna start utilizing it more and more. But I'm just trying to really, once we lock into, like you said, those 3 or 4 things you're doing right now with this, you're locked in, right? It's about consistency. That's the other thing I was gonna say. Like, make sure the things you're locking into are the things that aren't depleting you. Like, they're things that you can show up and say, at this time I'm gonna show up and it's gonna be consistent, because that's a big part of brand building, right? And that's what's gonna separate you from everybody else.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Final question is, you segue kind of well with this. We don't know when this is going to end. May 15th, June 1st, August 1st. We know that this virus is a serious virus. So I'm not playing with it, and I know you're not playing with it. So in this time frame, preparation, what I am doing is thinking about preparation for when the end does come, and what I may need to do as a personal brand, as a professional brand, as a father, as a son, in all of my roles. How can I be my best self at the end of this? What can I provide? What kind of service can I provide? What kind of skill set do I need to be able to be effective in my roles once we get out the house? You are a personal brand, you are April Walker, but you are also Walker Wear, and you are also Walker Gyms, and everything that you do community-wise, industry-wise, and personally. What are some of the pivots that you are working on now, with not knowing that the playing field is changing? Like, what are some of the pivots personally? What are some of the pivots? So like you mentioned, the audiobook, which I think is a great idea. What are some of these pivots that will take you, that will launch you into once quarantine is over?
The digitizing, so I'll be more on content than I will be. You'll know me more in the long run, in the next 5 to 10 years. I'll say 3 to 5 years, for more content than clothing. Because it's just where the world is going. And it's education won't even be the same. We were already on this plane, but now we're there. You know what I mean? Right. And I just looked at the 10 biggest industries coming, and that's one of them. And so I really planned a long time ago. I did my first online course 10 years ago, and I put it down for Walker Wear, and here we are. And I think that apparel matters, but it doesn't matter as much as the impact I can have in so many other ways right now to my tribe globally. So I want to do some more of that. And I will still be doing Walker Wear, but Walker Wear, I'm rethinking tooling it, right? So you talked about how we come out of this, the road ahead, subscription service, even as it relates to fashion,
right?
More accessories, more low-hanging fruit and things that are needed. It's lifestyle. Walker Wear is a lifestyle brand anyway. So why can't I do things that, from mass to whatever it is, you know what I mean, that speak to what's needed in the world in the future. And we're making our list of that, so stuff like that. And then books, the audio books, like I'm working on my next book, as well as this one that's getting ready to come out, and then the courses. So I did a course with Parsons and Complex called Streetwear Essentials, and that's on this. My module is business and entrepreneurship. And so I'm going to be doing some more courses after that, myself, with the team. And those courses speak to a variety of things, from entrepreneurship to building brands, etc. So you'll see more heavy on that. And then wellness. We need wellness right now, like you said, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and I believe financially. It is one of our Achilles heels in our community. So I just want to really be a good conduit for that and create lanes and spaces for us to empower our communities in that space. So I'll be doing that digitally.
Mm-hmm. Dope. All right, man. Part of, and the thing is, everybody that I've been interviewing, I have personal connection with, right? Which made this project easy for me, because it's really as simple as going into my Rolodex, finding people in my community that do the work, and contacting them and saying, listen, let's have a conversation. So, what's there to say? I'm glad that you're well. I'm glad that Pops is good. I already understand, your work and your grind and your hustle. I know that that's not going to stop, but it's good to see you in good emotion.
I've been keeping up with you and your family through your posts. Yeah. Everybody's okay, right?
Everybody's fine. We got Pop Dukes locked up. He's sequestered in his upstairs lair, not to come out. I got my mother finally to understand that she don't need to go outside.
Right.
Between my sister and I, if they need something, we'll provide it for them. And yeah, I think, so what happened with my mother, the eye-opening thing with her was that she's a member of Brown Memorial, and about 11 people have perished from Brown Memorial. Brown Memorial has gotten hit very hard with this. So, as people continue to pass, it's a sobering thing for my mother. Because my mother's a lot like me.
Me and Clinton been texting each other too. I didn't know that.
Yeah. How's he doing?
He's hanging in.
I've been meaning to text him, but I didn't want to, because it was at a point where they were dying off like every day. And so I didn't want to kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that people grieve in their own way, and, and this is a very intense thing. So I kind of just let him, go. But I'm glad that you are contacting him. And obviously he's in good enough spirits knowing that, he's able to communicate back with you. I know that his father as well. I've been asking, we have a good friend. I know that his father as well. You know what I'm saying? So, it's just tough. It's just wild. But my parents are good. My sister, one of my sisters up in Connecticut. The other one is at the house, so we're good. We're good.
Good.
Okay. All right. So I will. Be well, all right?
Healthy.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.